tumepatia hela kidogo ya bilioni 3, kichwa imekuka.
Consultative, respectful leadership. That's what we stand for.
We have no war with you. Just address the problems of our people, rivals tell the deputy president.
Mimi hizi ni vitu naona kwa TV, sikujua kama inaweza nifikia siku moja ati dadangu anauza drugs.
A family's agony after Kenyan woman is sentenced to hang in China for drug trafficking.
Sasa wamekuja wanasema ati wananyang'anya Raila group yake. Ati pension mpaka Raila aende apige magoti chini. Anakamwambia ngoo.
I will not beg Uhuru for my retirement benefits, Raila says over rejected bill.
Tulipofika katikati, feri kaanza kugeuka. Tukashangaa ina nini, kumbe feri imejamu.
And swim for your life. Commuters jump into the ocean after ferry stalls in Likoni. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. Our sign language interpreter is William Silla. Let's start off with some politics now. Political embers flared as the sibling rivalry in the Rift Valley played out in public yet again. Deputy President William Ruto's allies fired a barrage of salvos at his fiercest critics, Bomet Governor Isaac Ruto, Kericho Governor Paul Chepkwony, and Baringo Senator Gideon Moi.
But the trio responded by telling the deputy president that their only interest was to see the problems of the people of the Rift Valley addressed. Bomet Governor Isaac Ruto said their quest to fortify devolution should not be construed as undermining the deputy president.
The burial ceremony for former intelligence service boss Noor Arap Toh became the battle frontier in the supremacy quest for the Rift Valley region. With all parties in the acrimony present, it was checkmate for Bomet Governor Isaac Ruto, Kericho Governor Paul Chepkwony, and Baringo Senator Gideon Moi. The Deputy President's lieutenants breathing fire down the necks of the three.
William Samoei Arap Ruto is the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya. He is not the Governor of Bomet, neither the Governor of Kericho. He is not the Senator of Baringo, neither the Senator of Kericho and Elgeyo Marakwet.
Why is our community as Kalenjins hikae kwamba ndio the only community iko na siasa 24/7? Kwani watu wengine hawataki uongozi? Why should it be us alone who are making noise day and night? Can we learn from other people ya kwamba we respect those who are ahead of us?
The three are considered critical of the Deputy President's leadership in the Rift Valley. They are equally accused of trying to tilt the balance of scales in the vote-rich region in favor of splitting the region.
Sasa wewe ni governor, tumepatia hela kidogo ya bilioni 3, kichwa imekuruka.
I want to assure you the same message is here from the people of Kericho. Please continue with the fight. You are going to get there with all of us behind you.
Sisi watu wa Kericho tunakuheshimu na tunakuunga mkono. Na hiyo kesi yenye iko hapa tutakuombea Mwenyezi Mungu hiyo kesi ishe, alafu kuja utusaidia hapa nyumbani.
The Bomet governors meeting with the court leadership of a possible merge of the two referendum drives they are pushing also provided fodder for his critics.
Na niliwaambia zamani, referendum sio mbili ni moja. Na mmeona juzi wameanza kukutana kwa sababu referendum ni moja.
Wale mnakunywa chai na hawa ndio wale wamepeleka sisi kotini, wakatufuta sisi kazi, wakatupeleka sisi heki.
Mheshimiwa Makamu wa Rais, wewe na Rais mko kwa ofisi. Sisi kazi yetu kama wapinzani ni kusema yale tunaona na nyinyi mnaendelea. Sisi tukiingia nyinyi pia mtasema na sisi tunaendelea.
Governor Isaac Ruto, Kericho Governor Paul Chepkwony and Senator Gideon Moi did not directly respond to the attacks, instead telling Ruto and his allies that all they want is for the problems bedeviling the Rift Valley people to be addressed.
Consultative, respectful leadership. That's what we stand for. And I want to tell you, I give you my word of honor. I swear, we're in the forefront of that.
Hii serikali ya Jubilee inatutosha. Kuna haja ya makelele na malumbano na mgogoro. Tuwe pamoja.
Does today's meeting signal healing of the Rift Valley or just a temporary ceasefire as the deep-seated political rivalry continues? Samogina, KTN.
Still on politics, CORD leader Raila Odinga has criticized President Uhuru Kenyatta for refusing to sign a bill that would have seen him and Kalonzo Musyoka enjoy their retirement perks. The former premier said the government is applying double standards on the issue, insisting that the condition for him to resign from active politics, that it is allowing him to resign from active politics as a condition, and he says that that is a far-fetched dream.
He was speaking at Muhoho village in Butere constituency during the burial of Chief David Nambwaya.
Angalia wale watu wengine sio? Sasa wamekuja wanasema ati wananyang'anya Raila rupurupu yake. Ati pension mpaka Raila aende apige magoti chini. Anakamwambia ngoo. Raila wendi. Mambo nini? Mimi siwezi. Kaa naye kae. Sisi tutaendelea mbele. Kitu muhimu zaidi ni kuona kama Wakenya wamepata haki yao. Na kupigania maslahi ya Wakenya ndio muhimu zaidi. Sio ndururu ambayo Raila anapata. Raila atakula ile mboga ya nyumbani. Ile nyumbani hapo vile sinakula tu hapo. Ikija basi unampata chakula tu. Nakula busuma na ingo. Kama kuna kinini nakunya nyoka na maisha yanaendelea tu. Kwa hivyo sisi tutasimama imara, tutaendelea mbele pamoja. Sasa tumeleta kitu inaitwa Okoa Kenya.
Away from that, to a near miss in Mombasa, hundreds of ferry passengers were stranded for hours as a ferry stalled in the Likoni Channel. It's believed that the MV Kwale, which was headed to the Likoni mainland, developed a mechanical problem midstream when it started drifting towards the Florida area. Some of the passengers say they were forced to jump off the ferry for safety after the Mombasa disaster management team failed to respond in time. This mishap comes barely a week after Mombasa County Commissioner Nelson Marua faulted the Kenya Ferry Services management for its inefficiency.
Sasa kitu tunataka serikali yetu iangalie. Tunataka tuangalie usalama wetu, kwa maana saa nyingine pale tunataka feri siongezwe. Tukifika pale wakati mwingine tunasukumana, watu wako wengi lakini feri unapata asitoshi. Tunataka tuangaliliwe mambo yetu wakati tunatoka kazini, tukue pale tunasukumana na tuongezewe mahali pa kukaa, kwa maana hata pale tunakaa hatutosheki. Kwa hivyo tumefaulu na tumefuka na tunashukuru kwa haya yote.
Mpaka saa hii tunatoka wenyewe, hatujajua usaidizi unatoka wapi. Tunashangaa. Kenya hii mtu anaweza kufa hakuja kusaidiwa kama ashakufa tayari. Kuna mama wana watoto pale, wazee wana watoto wao. Sasa tunaambiwa tokeni feri paka saa 4 nitaondoka hapa ndani. Paka maji yajae. Kwa hivyo tunapambana tukipanda milima wenyewe, tukianguka tukumia mikono. Sababu ya nini? Sisi wananchi tunatoa taxes ama tutoe. Lazima tupewe usalama wetu na tupewe haki yetu.
The story of 28-year-old Flaviance Razan Owino, who was convicted of drug trafficking and sentenced to death by hanging in China, has received a lot of reactions here at home. But no one has received that news with greater pain than her own family. A family that now shockingly reveals that they had no idea that their kin was even in China in the first place. KTN's Timothy Otieno visited them in Nairobi's Embakasi estate and brings us this story.
It has been a trending topic on Twitter for over 36 hours now as Kenyans react to the news of one of their own sentenced to death in a foreign land. In a ruling believed to have been made nearly 2 years ago, Flaviance Owino was convicted for allegedly peddling of drugs and sentenced to die by the hangman's noose. But mixed reactions relayed on the social media sites regarding the ruling made 10,000 kilometers away has seen interest grow as people debate the fate of Florence Owino. At Suki Faye on Twitter says, "We are well able to prosecute our own. Send her home, get her charged at home." Fiona tweets and says, "It is purely the law. The Chinese law on drug trafficking is very clear on the punishment of such acts as drug trafficking." While Joseph on Twitter comments, "Neither the Kenyan government nor her family knew she had been arrested. They knew when she had been in jail for nearly 2 years, ready to be hanged." But it is perhaps the family's reactions to the news that sends a spin to this story. Her sisters claim they had no idea one of their own was in China. They only received news of her pending execution last week when a Chinese official called them.
As a family, we have never received any information that Florence alikuwa ameshikwa.
They last saw Flo, as she's popularly known, in May 2013. She told her elder sister she was living with a friend, and shortly after she cut off any form of contact with them.
Is she dead or alive? Is she in China? And if so, how come they were not informed of her arrest and subsequent sentencing? These are some of the questions that the family of Florence Owino is asking to anyone willing to offer answers.
I'm calling you from KTN.
We contacted the Kenyan Foreign Affairs Ministry and spoke to the Director of Diaspora Affairs, Dr. Washington Olo.
The only problem is that we don't have any prisoner exchange with China. Yeah, we have no bilateral agreement on prisoner exchange. So
he says the matter of Florence Owino will be considered on Monday, but the family says for them, time is not a luxury.
Kamwambia tulimshika na tulimpatia 2 years to appeal. And sasa tumeona wakati imeisha. Sasa ndio wakatupigia.
And for them, they say they just want a chance to see their kin, even if it is for the last time.
Tunalilia serikali itusaidie sana. Especially the Excellency, the President of Kenya, Honorable Uhuru Kenyatta. Tunalia kama wa Kenya. Tunalia kama familia ya Owino. Tuweze tukapata dada yetu arudi nyumbani, na pia tuweze hata kama alikuwa ameuawa tuweze kupata mwili wake ili tukamzike.
No information regarding when Ms. Owino is to be hanged is forthcoming, with ministry officials saying they are in talks with the Chinese government to have her case reconvened. Timothy Otieno, KTN.
A Vietnamese national has been detained at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport after allegedly being found smuggling rhino horn and assorted wildlife trophies. The suspect was nabbed last night after disembarking from a flight from Maputo, Mozambique, expecting to connect with another flight to Vietnam. A joint operation team involving security officers and customs officials at the airport recovered 7 pieces of rhino horn weighing 10.5 kilograms, a rhino tail, assorted carnivore teeth and claws packed in the suspect's travel bag. Kenya is currently participating in an operation called Cobra 3 to combat illegal trafficking of wildlife products. The operation involves countries in Africa and Asia. At the same time, the director of Kenya Wildlife Service, William Kiprono, revealed that some suspects have been identified in connection with the smuggling of 3 tons of elephant ivory unearthed at a port in Thailand. The ivory was stashed in a container shipped from Mombasa port, disguised as tea leaves, and was destined for Laos.
Team of intelligence from the National Police Service, KWS, from the port and customs. So we are at an advanced stage to say that the moment that much has been achieved. Of course, we have identified some of the culprits, and we are in course of arresting them. And what we only doing is gather the statements, and then, of course, the issue of exhibits is a bit a challenge to us because in far country, that is in Thailand. So what we need to do currently is to work jointly with the Thai government to ensure that we are able to get that exhibit back so that we can compile our case.
Now, for many years, the Samburu community has had a strong allegiance to a game called Ntotoe as a way of relieving stress and a platform for mediation amongst the aged. The game, which includes a wooden board with dugout holes and pebbles, has attracted other pastoralist communities from neighboring counties of Marsabit and Laikipia, making it a peace-building game. Lofty Matambo brings us that perspective.
From afar, it's not exactly clear what is going on under this tree. These are old men coming together from various parts of Samburu County to play a famous game here among the old.
Naitwa Ndotoi.
Hii mchezo?
Ndio.
Maana yake, maana ya ndotoi.
Maana ya ndotoi kama drums.
Wazee kucheza tu.
Kama drums ile inacheza drums. Sasa hii drums ya kienyeji.
Draft, kama draft.
William, aged 65, stays 2 kilometers away from Wamba Market. He has walked all the way to play this game. He says its importance can never be underestimated.
Hii inatumika kwa nyumbani. Tena iko wakati ngine iko sherehe kama hii ya marathon. Sasa iko again nakuja marathon tunacheza. Sasa iko number 1, number 2, number 3.
The competition is held every month of August during the annual Samburu Cultural Week. Old men from the communities of Ndorobo and Rendile from Marsabit and Laikipia counties join their Samburu counterparts in the competition. The aim is to foster peace and cohesion among the pastoralist communities. The old men are divided into 3 age sets. Ngiroro, aged between 50 and 60, Ngishili 60 and 70, and Kimaniki between 80 and 100 years. The winning community will be the pillar of envy and respect for a period of 1 year until another competition is organized.
Kuna mara nyumba ya kwanza, nyumba ya pili, mpaka nyumba ya tatu, mpaka nyumba inachukuliwa, mpaka msichana achukuliwe.
Msichana anachukuliwa?
Msichana anachukuliwa hapa.
Msichana wa kweli?
Sio
Apatese kufahamu tu kama kufikiria kupobaya tu kama kutoa stress.
Na hakuna kitu tunalipanga. Tunacheza tu wazee mpaka kutoka asubuhi mpaka jioni.
Ntotoi, which literally means bow in Swahili or wood in English language, has more significance than just leisure. The youth are not allowed to play the game due to what the older generation terms as inability within the young to contain their emotions. In case of a defeat, the young may resort in a physical fight. Lofty Matambo, KTN.
Now, still on efforts to build peace among the people of Marsabit, the women there have been undertaking a rather interesting approach.
That's right, looking for peace through dance, a traditional dance called Yongoyo. KTN's Grace Kai Tunya explains what this is all about.
Marsabit County. Women of different age groups assemble here to listen and enjoy the soft, soothing traditional music known as Yongoyo. But that's not the main reason for the meeting. These women have a vision to promote unity and bring peace among the warring communities of Marsabit County.
Tunatuma kuambia hawa muachane kuwaua watu ama pigana kwa sababu ya vita.
Day in, day out, their message is the same, that of peace. But the message seems to be falling on deaf ears. Just recently, almost 40 people lost their lives due to tribal conflict. Such scenarios are bound to break their spirits, but not these women. They are adamant that one day peace will prevail.
Tumechoka kuona vita. Raha yetu ni kuona amani. Hatuchoki hadi amani irejee.
For the women, this is a service they do free of charge and expect nothing in return, but only peace. The residents here are so proud of the women. They want bigger players like the government of Marsabit to buy into the initiative to help the peace efforts.
These communities are beautiful. They pride in their camels, they pride in their goats, they pride in their cattle, and they have done various dances for all this.
With every sunset, they hope that one day their persistence and resilient efforts will pay off. Grace Kaetunya, KTN.
What an amazing story coming out there. Let's focus a little bit and give you an insight into what it takes to do our job. So how much do you know about your country's current political, economic, or even social political affairs? And what is usually your reaction when random reporters like ourselves come to you for your opinion on national issues? Take a look at the following story.
To bring you up to speed or updated with current issues that make news, journalists go through a myriad of hassles to make that opinion that comes from the public count. We sought out to the streets to understand why most of the public will shy away from the camera to give their opinion, and this is why.
Information is power, both in social and economic activities. Question is, do you know what's going on around you and how directly or indirectly you are affected? Our curiosity was driven by a video shot in America where Americans were asked whether they knew their vice president.
Who is Joe Biden?
I have no idea.
Do you want to take a guess?
A man.
Who is Joe Biden?
Joe Biden. Wasn't he our governor? I think he's the governor or something.
Joe Biden, I don't know, terrorist group, like that, terrorist.
Who is Joe Biden? I have no idea.
Oh, Joe. I've seen him in movies.
What movie?
In some movies, but I don't know.
What movies? Like, what are some of them?
I cannot tell you. Is he gonna be here?
Pineapple Express?
Would that be? Oh, yeah, he's there. Oh, dude.
We conducted a similar experiment in Nairobi. This, however, was not an easy task.
Excuse me, hi. My name is Stanley from KTN. Can I have a moment with you to ask you a simple question? Just a minute, I won't take too much of your time. On national interest? Thank you. Kindly. Can I ask you a few questions about something to do with national issue?
Of the few interviews we managed to get, I asked questions on both entertainment and politics. Then the revelation came.
My favorite artist is Lil Wayne. He has good music, he has creativity in his lines.
Any one of his music that you know? One line or two?
He says his best line is from In Peace. Leave it dead in the living room.
The second stanza of the Kenyan national anthem, what does it say?
Huh?
The second stanza of the Kenyan national anthem, what does it say? Why is that so?
Tulimbanga moja peke yake.
How many colors does the Kenyan flag have?
4. How many colors does the Kenyan flag have? 5.
Can you name them?
Black, green, white, red. Red, black, green, white.
High five. What about the second stanza of the national anthem?
What about it?
Can you recite it?
No.
I follow politics, but I think I'd follow entertainment more than politics.
What have you followed so far on politics?
Basically with the issue with the Integrity Center, yeah, the firing of the commissioners, and the issue with the insecurity.
Security is important.
Security is important.
Who's the cabinet secretary for Interior?
I know Olenko was sacked. I know he quit or sacked.
Oh wow! Now that's a youth that's in trouble. he really has to pull up his socks to at least get up to date on the day-to-day.
Would you say that the youth are not so much concerned about current issues that affect them socially, politically, and everything apart from entertainment?
I'd say we're not given a chance to express our views, because I believe if I as a young person, I'm given the stage, you know, the platform to express my views and say, let's say this is not going right, I mean we should do this.
I think the youth nowadays, they are so much into social media, and maybe they don't look into so much into the things that affect them, maybe things that affect the country and all that.
If I look at back in my youth, I was just as focused on the issues pertaining to that day, that time. But as you grow older, you tend to appreciate that there's a whole lot of other issues that you should also look into.
A Kenyan that taxpayers, I need to be like, know whatever is going on from social, from business-wise, political-wise, and in all aspects.
Yeah, so I need to get to know what's taking place. If I fail to do that, I feel that the nation side, I don't have a right to criticize the government when they don't do one or two things. Yes.
Your news is abstract. It's talking about what's happening Kisumu, Kampala, and this young fellow is more interested in what's happening in Carnival. Or yeah, basically, yeah.
Personally, I love watching things that trigger my thinking.
Can I talk to you in less than a minute on entertainment? Anything, the genre of music that you love, what you love most about entertainment and your favorite artist perhaps, and as well politics.
I have to stand here.
Back where the camera is.
No, I'm sorry.
Politics?
No, not.
All right, that's exactly what we go through before we get that opinion count in any given story. For a news item, Stanley Mbichu, KTN, Nairobi.
And Stanley Mbichu should know better because that's one of our, one of our best cameramen.
Yeah.
But really, I mean, he knows about Lil Wayne.
But did I know about
the national anthem,
the national anthem?
Or even who's interior,
who's the cabinet secretary. Yeah. Okay, now I was thinking of a trivia question to ask you to throw you off. Eh?
Oh, you know what? Here's a challenge. Think about it throughout this bulletin. You can ask me at the end of it.
I'll ask you 10 questions.
We don't have time for 10 questions.
I'll ask you one. Already.
Just one. But let me tell you, if you took a look at what happened even with the presenter that aired just before the news, they were simply asked, what is Kidera's first name? Who's the deputy governor of Nairobi, rather? Can you name 5 governors?
And that general, civics knowledge is wanting a little bit. But I guess it's like Stanley's story showed. It's not just a Kenyan thing.
No, yeah.
I think we're in an era where content is very personalized, and you watch what you want, you get what you want, and so the rest of the world sort of doesn't matter. But it should.
Yeah.
It should.
All right.
We think it should.
Okay, so we'll try and make sure that we make it count for you every single day right here on KTN. So let's take a short break right now. We'll be back with more news for you after this.
Welcome back to KTN Weekend Prime, the point of news.
Right, so is a commission still a commission if all the commissioners resign? With the resignation of Anti-Corruption Commission Chair Mumo Matemu, experts are warning that cases under investigation by the EACC face numerous challenges in court since the commission is not fully constituted. Aaron Ochieng reports.
Is the war on graft a mockery on Kenyans, or is it a genuine attempt to seal loopholes that are being used to fleece the country at the expense of taxpayers?
Before the committee.
Appearing before the Parliamentary Investment Committee PIC on Tuesday, suspended Labour Cabinet Secretary Kazungu Kambi revealed that he still enjoys all the benefits and privileges of a CS even when he remains suspended.
Before I'm proved guilty is when now I can earn half a salary, but for now I'm earning full salary, all privileges I do have.
On the same day, Bomet Governor Isaac Ruto was grilled for over 3 hours by EACC officials over claims of funds misappropriation in his county, and the governor expressed confidence in the commission's endeavor to contain corruption.
They have a duty to confirm these things because supposing they were true. Yeah, so they have a duty, and you see, ethics and anti-corruption are supposed to investigate every report.
The anti-graft body is without commissioners after its suspended chairman Mumo Matemu resigned Tuesday evening. Matemu, who had been chairman of the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission since 2012, left office just before he was to undergo tribunal investigating his suitability to continue to hold office. Experts are warning that an EACC without commissioners is not fully constituted and its decisions and recommendations can be challenged by anyone.
The decisions that might be arrived at by the Secretariat as it is right now, the persons being grilled, the persons being investigated, definitely would want to use this situation to challenge some of those decisions.
Matemu became the final commissioner to leave office after 2 others resigned. On April 30th, his deputy Irene Kaino resigned, saying she did so to spare her family the anguish of going through the judicial process meant to investigate her. Another commissioner, Professor Jane Onsongo, resigned in March, citing pressure from outsiders on her work at the EACC.
What we have right now is a body that, yes, still exists and to some extent can undertake its mandate, but it is more like a car without an engine, more like a body without a head.
Last month, President Uhuru Kenyatta formed a tribunal led by retired High Court Judge Jonathan Havelock. Matemu's resignation means that the tribunal formed on the recommendation of the National Assembly will not have any current commissioners face it to defend themselves. The judicial team had 60 days to report back to the president. Aaron Ocheng, KTN.
Very important question to consider, especially thinking that the 60 days is almost up. Now here's another question of a fairly different nature. What do you think you'll be doing at the age of 90? At that age, very few people engage in demanding activities, with most spending their time resting or playing with their great and grandchildren. But for 90-year-old Lucy Mwehaku Kamau, a resident of Nakuru, 90 is nothing but a number. Kamche Menza tells us the story.
It's about 5 p.m. and Lucy Mwihaki at her daughter's house is busy mending and sewing clothes. This is what she has done for the last 6 decades, something she says she knew would blend well with farming.
Siku moja ninaweza kushona masiti mbili ama tatu. Hiyo size hii.
And like so many of her age mates, nothing is difficult here. Skills she acquired without formal training, but with adult education.
Hii mashini nilijifundisha na ninaenda mahali mabudi wanashona, nakaa hapo naangalia hata kwa sababu ninajua kusoma, ninajua hiji. Nikanunua hii. Sasa nikaendelea.
In the past, she used to stitch school uniforms for her 7 children while attending to some clients who liked her work, her income adding up to what her husband brought home.
Kukaa chini mimi siwezi. Nataka kufanya kazi. Sio kusema ati ninaweza kukataa, lakini nataka kufanya kazi. Sio mashini peke yake. Nikikupeleka shamba hapa, utashangaa.
And though all her children can cater for her needs, her work, she says, plays a big role in filling up where there is a gap. She says every grown adult should eat from their sweat.
Wakati mwingine huwa hata ninasikia nikiwa kwa bedroom yangu anashona. Kama ujuavyo, unajua mtu akifika umri wake, wakati mwingine usingizi unapungua kabisa. Sasa yeye badala ya kuanza kufikiria, in fact hata hiyo imemsaidia sana kukosa kufikiria. Yeye tu anachukua vitambaa anaanza kushona. Karibuni sana.
Kushona hii ngazi hii step by step, hiyo ndio anajua sana. Hizo unajua zilikuwa zinatumiwa zamani.
Vitambaa amenishonea seti 3. Anafanyanga kazi mara nyingi, hata mimi namuulizaga shosho, wewe pumzika? Na niambia hapana, wacha tu nifanye kazi.
Lakini kukaa chini hakuna kitu mimi nafuata. Tena nitazeeka zaidi. Na nikose nguvu.
That which she started as an income-generating activity 60 years ago has now turned into a hobby. Sometimes she does not even charge her customers, and she says she's not about to stop. Kamche Menza for KTN Weekend Prime.
She doesn't look 90 at all. Yeah.
At all. She,
Yeah.
you know, I'd peg her for like, you know, maybe 75
I
going
know,
to
right?
pushing 80.
Yeah.
But you
got
know what?
great
An
genes.
active mind really is the elixir of youth in many ways. You know,
Absolutely.
keep active, keep thinking, and probably, you know, we'll make it there.
Right.
What do you think you're going to be doing at 90? Before
Oh, gosh. Speaking of thinking, have you thought of a trivia question for me yet?
Yes.
Or should we go to the feedback?
No.
The feedback is what's important. Imelda Okech says, the family is crying for your help. This is about the fate of Owino. Let's hope their cry will be heard. And then Yatich Zef says, Kenya did not execute the Chinese nationals found for cybercrime. They should release Owino to Kenya. Well, that case is still going on. George Njabia is talking about Stephen Bichu's story. He says, ducking the mic. Most people shy away from reporters because of naivete. So let's see.
Eric Ndach says on fate of Owino, yes, every life is worth saving sometimes, and it's good to fight cruelty with kindness. So unfortunately, those are Chinese laws, not Kenyans,
Right.
and it would take some doing to be able to extradite someone back here to face those kinds of charges. Let's see what happens in the next couple of days. Although the prognosis, based on what's happened in the recent past,
I
or at least
know.
in the past with China, is not very good.
Or with Indonesia, for that matter. I think many remember that execution that took place, was it earlier this month? All right, so let's take another short break while Namu continues to think. Hopefully he'll think before he turns
No, the
90.
question is here. Anyway, let's take a break. We'll be back on KTN Weekend Prime. Welcome back to KTN Weekend Prime. The National Assembly's Committee on Implementation wants the health function withdrawn from county governments and taken back to the central government.
The committee members spoke in Mombasa but were immediately told off by senators and chairmen of Public Accounts and Investments committees.
Senators said the proposal was a scheme to roll back devolution gains.
We made a grave mistake in fully devolving the health functions to our counties. And we don't need to go far to ascertain this particular fact. We know that right now we are faced with a crisis of cholera, and it's a huge indicator that indeed we made a mistake, because the counties have exhibited the inability to actually manage the very basic of diseases, which is cholera. And 50 years down the line after Kenya has attained its independence, we are told that over 10 counties are actually faced with a cholera crisis.
You know, it is in the security sector and in the health sector and in the roads transport sector where you have got huge huge contracts where people cut deals. And because some members of parliament partake of those deals, they are unhappy that governors will be in charge of procurement. So they would like the procurement to come back to Nairobi. It is therefore not surprising to those of us who defend devolution that the huge project of 35 billion shillings that was meant to procure specialized medical equipment and laboratory was done by the national government. Ordinarily, it should have been done by the county government.
Definitely a debate that will be shaping up in the coming weeks. Now, 3 weeks after KTN highlighted the plight of the children at the Good Samaritan home in Mathare, well-wishers trooped to the home to lend a helping hand. A fire had burnt down a big part of their home, leaving hundreds of children out in the cold. Fatma Pole has been following that story.
When we first met Mama Mercy, she was struggling to wear a smile after part of a residential house, which she has turned into an orphanage, burnt down. Living one day at a time, Mercy chose to soldier on with the 570 children she has rescued from the streets in the few rooms left. Today, 2 weeks since KTN aired her story, the scenario at the Good Samaritan Children's Home is different. Mercy has taken in one more child.
nilikuwa naishi na my dad, saa akakufa, nikaishi na my bro, akasema ati nikuje Nairobi nikafanya usharati, so nikadecide kuja kwa sizi yangu na kwa anajiweza kunilipeleka shule, ndio mother-in-law yake penye amoleka akanileta hapa hivi.
The children, evidently excited, gather around to watch as Joshua Kamau, an artist popularly known as the one-man band, entertains them with his unique talent. But the one-man band is not the only new face here. The home is full of life and buzzing with activities. Visitors and more visitors continue to stream in. Other than the good company, the children are also treated to fun activities like this bouncing castle, which has the younger ones occupied. The older ones seizing the opportunity to display their own talents.
Whatever you have, maybe it little or more, there is always a room to share. So whatever you have, don't feel shy, come out, give out to people. Even if maybe you have 2 mandazis, eat one, give one to the other person, and then you'll be providing an helping hand.
And after the hard work is done, it's now time for the presents. Mattresses, bedding, clothes, food are just some of the goodies they came with.
Our guys are cooking, we're doing their clothes, we've done their cleaning. Basically, it's our day with them. Yeah. We put the smile to their face.
Mimi leo, hata miaka yangu haitakuwa 57. Miaka yangu itakuwa 50 sasa. 7 nimedrop kutoka leo. Wameja sana vile ombi yangu ilikuwa naomba na imetimika, na kutoka mwanzo vijana ndio wananisaidia na wamama.
And as the day ends, Mercy stands tall knowing that this is a sign of better things to come. She has been able to overcome one hurdle after another, and today she has even more reasons to smile, knowing that she's not alone in her fight to make sure no child is left out cold in the street.
Statistics from the government show that the number of vulnerable children and orphans stands at over 4 million. Now, these children might not have a lot, but they are rich at heart, and they depend on men and women of goodwill such as you and I for their survival. Fatma Pole, KTN, in Mathare.
All right, so done with the sports news, but even before we get to the feedback, here's an interesting one for you today, and yeah, that question is coming up. A new kind of Google self-driving car will be hitting the streets very, very soon.
Google is switching from an SUV to a custom-built electric car that is likely to turn heads.
And they will only be navigating the streets of Mountain View, California. David Louis shows us the new design.
It will be an attraction or possibly a distraction, depending what you think of this small 2-seater electric self-driving car. Google designed them this way so its engineers can study how people react to them and interact with them. A human will retain manual control as needed. Its speed will be limited to 25 miles an hour. Joe Hong has driven by the Lexus self-driving vehicles that Google has tested for 6 years, and speed is not a word he'd associate with them.
They're typically on the fast lane, but going a little bit too slow, so they're already on the slow side in my experience.
Nurse Jamie Peterson has no fears about being struck by one.
I would trust it to stop. I would definitely trust it to stop.
You think the technology is ready?
Yes. Yes, I do.
This next phase of testing brings self-driving capability closer to reality for seniors who fear losing their independence and mobility.
For a lot of folks, they're forced to perhaps give up the keys, and that really limits and decreases their independence.
Ginger Johnson is 84 years old and still driving.
Sometimes we lose the ability, or we have diminished ability to judge distances and speed. So I think it would be a terrific thing.
Google has built 25 of these prototype cars. They will be put on the streets of Mountain View, a few at a time. Would you walk in front of one in a crosswalk?
No. No.
You have some trepidation.
Absolutely. Well, unless it was at a full and complete stop, and then I would go.
And that's the kind of behavior that Google will study as it moves forward with self-driving cars.
Self-driving cars, that's a little like Total Recall, you know.
Yeah, I know, right?
I don't know. I don't know about about driverless cars. Beg your pardon, because I don't know. There's something about control and driving, and you know it just isn't the same. Honestly, I don't think
I have those nightmares. You know, when you watch those movies on artificial intelligence, and then the car just takes on a life of its own.
Yeah.
And it takes you somewhere, and it locks the
you
doors,
to prison.
and you know,
or something
yeah,
like
you
that.
know all those things you think about in those movies. All right, so we promised trivia questions because Nairobians are apparently afraid, according to the feedback we're getting, of when we come out and ask you all these questions because you might not know. Namu has been thinking about one. Hopefully, it'll get him to the age of 90.
I had like 10 really hard ones, but
we don't have time.
Yeah, we don't have time, so I'll ask you.
Go for it.
No, I'll ask you one.
One.
All right, Yvonne. This weekend, very prominent player in the English Premier League will be playing his last game, or will be playing his last game. Who is that player?
Steven Gerrard.
And Twitter and Google is
now,
your friend.
Yes. I have Google in my head. But here's the thing. So I want to pick on something, because I know if I ask you anything on security, terrorism, you'll know. So let me pick something totally different.
All right.
When was the search for Kenya's national dress, and how much did it cost us? Let's see how much you know about fashion.
It was 2004. The cost was controversial.
Yeah.
It was around 50 million thereabouts.
Oh, okay. Well done. That's it.
Yes.
Yeah. So next time you meet us out in the streets, you can shoot a question.
That is not fair. I should ask you. Anyway, I'm kidding.
You can ask. Go ahead.
No,
ask another one. And another one. I'm on a high now.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
All right. Anyway, so your feedback on fate of Miss Owino. We had one that talked about how the country was able to intervene when it was Joe Donda's daughter. Remember that?
Yeah.
And asking why the same can't happen for Flavian Sowino.
And a lot of people, I think, have part of the answer. It's because there has been no appeal lodged on her behalf, because people didn't know about the case. Well, others are taking a more, straightforward view to this case. Professor Mfanyikazi says she should be tried in Kenya. There's other people who say that she shouldn't. Like Titus Mwai, he says, doesn't matter where justice is made as long as it's justice. I've seen other tweets that are a little more callous towards her fate, and of course considering the feelings of the family. But let's face it, there was a crime that was committed on foreign soil, and foreign jurisdiction takes precedence.
All right, okay, so we'll see how that plays out in the coming days and weeks. Noreen McDowell says, you've spoilt the party. I was hoping you'd get served by Yvonne Okwara. Clearly, he has a brain on his shoulders.
Yes. No, I'm just not.
Did you know? Would you have thought? Who'd have thunk it? Anyhow, let's wind up our bulletin now. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your feedback. Let's do this again tomorrow.
Remember, Checkpoint's up tomorrow. Very interesting discussion. Don't miss out on that one. It's really important. And can I just say, it has to do with corruption.
My favorite topic.
Yes.
That's my favorite subject. The war on graft.
Yeah.
All right. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Bye.
This is KTN. Welcome home.